Let's talk about CLOV earnings. Hello and welcome back to another video. I am your beautiful host, Young Buffett, and I am very excited to talk about what happened with CLOV today. I have a quick recap of their earnings call, everything you need to know if you are holding on to CLOV or if you're looking into starting an investment with CLOV. Before we dive in super deep, just a quick background. I started this channel and I started documenting my experience investing in meme stocks, momentum stocks, stocks that people are talking about on Reddit and so on. And CLOV was the first one that we picked up. We started scaling in and buying shares and averaging down. And today was a big deal because now they're announcing their earnings, how they did, their future guidance and stuff. So we'll go over all of that. I have some key data to look at, some overall public sentiment to look at, and then we'll talk about what we should expect coming up in the next coming weeks or so and different catalysts to look out for. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, please scroll down, hit that subscribe button because it just makes me happy inside. Now, real quick, I don't know if you guys know, but in my description, I have a link to Finery. And Finery is a Discord, but for investing. And I have a channel in here, a bunch of cool kids. This is the Cool Kids Club. We hang out in here and we talk about stocks and stuff. Just a bunch of nice guys talking about what we want to talk about. So if you haven't already, join it. It's fun. It's cool. I'll see you there. Now let's talk about CLOV earnings. So started off, the CEO gave a quick little recap on numbers. The CFO also talked about numbers. I don't know why they both talk about the same thing, but they did. Anyways, 412 million in revenue. That's up 140%. That's awesome. Lives have nearly doubled under their care. So they're looking after 129,000 people now. So they're growing. Again, goes back to the narrative of this is a hyper growth company. So that's great. EPS was so bad. I don't know what the silver lining in this could be. Maybe they are spending a lot of money to make a lot of money later, but EPS was expected to be negative 13 cents. They reported negative 78 cents. So that's not good, but we'll see how that plays out. 50% of their members are minorities. That's really cool, actually. The industry standard is 30%. So he gave that statistic. It might be something interesting to take into account. It might be a catalyst to look out for. It might be just another factor that makes the stock price move. On that note, actually, have you guys noticed, for example, when an infrastructure bill comes out, specific companies, for example, like Caterpillar or Honeywell, or I don't know, the companies that are affected by infrastructure go up or down. If there's news about a specific policy, if there's news about something really top level, how do you know which stock moves up or down, right? It's because of information like this. So now we know 50% of CLOV members are minorities. Now, if 3 weeks from now, there's news that comes out that says Biden is putting in a plan in place to help all minorities in America with their health care. Okay. Now you know that CLOV is directly benefiting from some sort of news like that. So that's just an interesting thing to know. It's very important with companies like this to understand potential catalysts and what things to look out for and what things can make what move. Growth trends will continue. They're just massively growing. It goes back to that hyper growth narrative. There's a $1 trillion Medicare market. That's what they're in. That's what they're targeting. MA plans, Medical Advantage plans, are expanding to 101 counties. This is older news, but he did bring it up in the earnings call. In one of my other videos, I said 101 countries, and I got roasted for that. So counties, not countries, not planets, counties. The fall annual enrollment period is coming up, guys. So that is a potential catalyst to look out for. if you hear data that fall annual enrollment has been doing way better than expected, that is something that can move the stock. So again, goes back to what I was talking about with the minority thing, things to look out for. It's just interesting. DCE expansion to Florida. Again, this was kind of older news. It tied back to the 101 counties. It tied back to that one news where they partnered up with that company. But it expands their plans. It expands their network. It optimizes their network so then they can release things easier, faster, more efficiently, more profitably. So that, again, that's just good business on their end. CLOV performance was impacted by the pandemic, blah, blah, blah. We know that. Updated, normalized measures to give meaningful results, non-GAAP. So they're pretty much like adjusting their numbers to make it make sense. Taking COVID into account, pretty much. They are strengthening their team. Now, they have their chief growth officer and their chief strategy officer. These are two new people. Pretty cool people, actually. So the first guy worked at Uber and WeWork. He's a big disruption guy. The chief strategist, he was actually a global business development person at Palantir. So that's cool. They are expanding their team, and I like to see them take people from other publicly traded companies and other successful companies and really build a strong team around that, because that ultimately will help their decision making and ultimately affect the stock price as well. The CFO, a lot of people were expecting a CFO announcement today. A CFO announcement would have been good for the stock price, in my opinion, depending on who they picked. But they have an interim. They have somebody, because the CFO is leaving. He was on the call today, but he's like, hey, you guys are doing great. I'm going to keep watching on the sidelines. But he is stepping down. His official announcement of like, today's my last day might be a potential catalyst, maybe to the downside. But what I'm looking for is an announcement for who will be the CFO. If they come out and they announce a really strong CFO, that is a positive catalyst for the stock. So keep your eye out on that. Again, I'm keeping track of these catalysts so we can report on them and document what affects the stock price. Now, also keep in mind, and I hope it's not the case, but it could be buy the rumor, sell the news type situations where, for example, they're buying the rumor that the fall annual enrollment period is going to be doing well. And then once they announce that it has done well, the stock price might go down. You've seen that happen in the past. So not to be a negative Nancy or anything, it's just a potential scenario to take into account when tracking these catalysts. The CTO hopped on the call, talked about growth and scale, different KPIs that they're looking at. Clover Assistant model allows them to have personalized care, wide open network, maximum flexibility and choice. They're growing and growing and growing. They are on track for $1 billion in annual Medicare revenue, which is fantastic. We'll get into that a little bit later too, to when we talk about guidance. And Clover Assistant gets better with feedback loops that they have with physicians. They're constantly optimizing and growing. Again, the CTO's job is to make sure that the technology is in place and that they're growing and being efficient and effective and having new features and modules, which actually they talked about here. But they have 27,000 sessions a month. They're expecting growth there. They have an engagement rate of 90% with the current people who are signed up for it, which is fantastic. But they are introducing more and more features. They're coming up with new features and new integrations to tie into their whole model and network of things that they offer. And that will increase engagement rate and it'll just grow overall. So fantastic. CFO talked about what the CEO talked about. The revenue, $412 million. That's up 140 year over year. They account that to the launch of direct contracting and growth with MA memberships. Again, 129,000 lives. That's double 2020 Q2, so that's amazing. Net medical claims, 429 million. Pandemic impacts, but he did dive in a little bit deeper, so this is what's interesting. He said New Jersey and New York are the biggest impact to COVID. So, bringing it back to my whole catalyst thing, if you start hearing news that New York is getting better and everything's progressing in New York or any New York or New Jersey related COVID/pandemic/health news will move this stock either up or down. In this case, it can't really be a buy the rumor, sell the news situation because they said we got impacted by this. So think of it like a wait. Now, if news comes out a month or two from now that says New York is all good, that is a weight lifted off of CLOV. New Jersey's all good, that is a weight lifted off of CLOV. So think of that as another potential catalyst. So financials will improve as they continue to optimize things. Share counts will increase as cashless redemption of warrants. I believe this was expected, but I don't like that. But it is what it is. It's also not that big of a deal. It's 9.6 million additional shares. I don't know. I'm going to take a neutral stance on this, even though I just said I don't like it. We'll see. Let's see what happens. Okay. In my opinion, share dilution is never a good thing. In this case, it might be okay. We'll see. Also, can someone confirm in the comments, did I hear them say $630.3 million in cash? If so, that's awesome. I love companies that have cash. So yeah, if they have cash, great. Guidance for the future. Expectations were about $850 million for 2021. Their CFO said he's on track for 1.4 to 1.5 billion, probably according to their pipeline and different plans with the CTO and where they're expanding, and then maybe even industry expansion. I don't know. We'll see. Again, they did set that guidance. Now, that does tie into next quarter. Hold on, my cat's meowing and you guys wanted to see him. In my last video, my cat kept on meowing, so now you guys can meet my cat. This is Chai. He's a good boy sometimes. Oh. Where were we? Guidance will be important for the future. So they did say this is what they're expecting. If they do not meet that, that is bad for the stock. If they meet that, that might be okay or neutral for the stock. If they miss that, that might be bad for the stock. Seems obvious, but it's good to track all this stuff and understand what will affect the price. And wrapped it up by saying there's traction across all parts of their business, their growth and initiatives, and they gave that higher guidance. So far so good. Overall, I thought that call was good. They got to the point, straight to the point, talked about what they needed to talk about, and I'm excited to see how it digests in the next coming days. Few more things I want to cover. Saw this post by Sanal K on the subreddit. Why I am unwaveringly bullish on CLOV. So this guy talks about how he has success in the equities market, blah, blah, blah. But what I thought was interesting is he says that he sees a $30 to $40 a share price on CLOV. If you scroll down on this subreddit, somebody posted a link to this. So it shows the valuation and how this math makes sense. On the low end, 20.30 per share. So that means it's assuming a 70,000 MA patients end of 2021 times 51,834 per patient, equaling $3.62 billion, bringing the market cap to $8.29 billion. So that's the low end. The high end, 70,000 MA patients and DC patients. And then the price for that would bring the market cap for $11.29 billion. Then you got Medicare Advantage business valuation. So I'll post a link in the description if you guys want to read this full breakdown of the valuation. But it is very interesting to see such a high valuation. Honestly, it's not even that high. I don't know what I'm saying. That it makes sense. CLOV is just so shorted that like all these prices make it seem high, but it's not. CLOV is just very underpriced in my opinion. Jumping over to Ape Wisdom really quick, because what's a good old young Buffett video without some ape wisdom in it, right? We got Wall Street Bets, Wall Street Bets New, Wall Street Bets Elite, Stocks, Stock Market, Investing, SPACs, Options, and Day Trading subreddits that tracks the top most trending tickers on Reddit in the past 24 hours. Number one, we got the S&P 500 SPY, probably because it just keeps going up. Microvast is probably working its way down. Moderna has been killing it. Then number four, CLOV, above AMC and GameStop. Congratulations. Most likely because earnings was here. 70% positive sentiment, hasn't changed from yesterday. Earnings was the top mention, looks like. Earnings up like calls after holding Moon by MVST, right back AMC check down thread. So overall, 70% positive sentiment. People are excited. People wanted to see what happens. People were hoping this is some sort of squeeze catalyst. We shall see how it plays out, huh? Jumping over to swaggy stocks, we got mRNA, eBay, and CLOV. Comment volume is kind of going down. CLOV was like number one or number two the other day. But either way, people are talking about it, which is great. On this chart, shows the stock price going up, going down, doing its thing. Comment volume staying the same. Really, it's just, we'll see how it mellows out and where the stock price goes from there. Dark pool data. Thought this was super interesting. Look at that. Net volume is now not in the millions anymore. Net volume is now negative 540,000. It was like 3 million and then 2 million and then 1 million and now 500,000. So net short volume, negative 4.39 million. So still a lot of activity going on. Still a lot of manipulation in my opinion. But I guess we'll see how it all plays out, huh? The stock. Let's look at the stock. It did its typical CLOV special. Opened, went down. And then it kind of hovered out, chilled out a little bit, saw a low of 802 today. And then started to pick back up a little bit and just mellowed out. Honestly, everyone was just waiting for earnings. Then, right when everything was announced, it just skyrocketed about $1.18 or so. It closed at $8.13 and it saw a peak of $9.18. So that's very good movement in my opinion. Honestly, now it's actually picking up a little bit more too, but shot up, sold off a little bit, did a pop, lock, drop, and now it's kind of mellowing out. And it might honestly just consolidate a bit. I don't want to speak too early. It might actually just start rocketing right here for no reason at all. But what I like to do is hop over to the options chain and see if this was expected. Look at that. You see that number right there where it says plus or minus 1.34? It moved within expectations. Which is good. They didn't really crazy surprise the options chain. The money knew what was going to happen. It's pricing in about 1.729 for next week and about 2.761 for September and about 4.475 for November. I do think it'll move more than that. We are still holding our $10 call for August. That might appreciate in value tomorrow. We'll see. And we are still holding the September 17th $17 call. And again, bringing it back to the Finery page, the trading group, we are actively talking about options plays in here. And it's not only CLOV either. We're talking about a lot of different other stocks. So again, if you're interested, link is in the bio. Definitely check that out. If you guys have any questions or anything, always feel free to ask me anything. I get back to pretty much every comment on YouTube. So I love you guys. Let me know if you have any questions. Let's see what happens. Let's see how the stock moves. Let's see what happens this week. I'm excited, and I'll catch you guys on the next video.